Finally, after 2 years of retcon after retcon and Murata drawing two completely different versions of it, One Punch Man's Ninja Village arc has come to its conclusion. Initially, it took a direction similar to parts of the Monster Association, small battles with opponents building up to a main climactic bout that felt a lot like Saitama's fight against Garou. That being said, it was never on the same level, and the author of the series wanted it to align more with the webcomic version. Doing this has left a lot of confusion on what the hell is happening, and for months myself, I didn't even have a clue, as stuff was never even changed on my viz. It still shows a completely different story even now, which is actually insane. However, I've managed to track down and locate all of these retcons in order to cover the complete Ninja Village arc. So of course, sit back and relax as we delve into the entire Ninja Village arc from the ever-expanding universe of One Punch Man. Hearing the doorbell ring on his apartment, interrupting his and King's Oblivion gaming sesh, Saitama waddles his way over to the door. Opening it to see Flashy Flash holding up a terribly drawn image of Manako, the S-Class points out how he doesn't look like a busy guy, so should help him find her. If he does well, he could even become his pupil. Slamming the door in Bro's face, King rolls over to question what's going on, letting him know he smelled a hassle. The duo then overhear their fellow hero screaming at them, demanding they open up or he'll kick the damn door in. Hearing Big Genos then also roll up outside, Dude starts pressing Flash, asking what the hell he's up to perusing around his master's doorway. He demands he state his business and keep it brief, obviously because Saitama doesn't have the mental capacity to take, an in-depth explanation. If he refuses to comply, then he must leave. He has no right to a meeting. Flash says he doesn't need his permission though, causing Genos to ask if he's really intending to break in. All of a sudden, the two S-Classes start beefing, causing the entire apartment unit to viciously shake. Realizing that he should probably stop them before something happens, Saitama swings his door open and tells the Muppets to quit fighting outside his new apartment. Immediately ceasing this small bout, Flashy Flash lands back on the balcony and explains why he came. You see, he wanted to offer him a celebratory mission on him, getting A-class, yet this is the meeting he gets. Genos asks if he knows this ruffian, and he confirms he does. His name is Too Long Bangs. Dropping into a deep sweat though, King stutters while going to tell his boy Flashy's name, but is quickly cut off and told not to say a damn thing. This is Saitama's problem in Flashy's eyes. He's the type who relies on others, so he has to learn to be more responsible and remember himself. Dropping into deep thought, Saitama knows his name starts with a sh, no f sound. Correcting himself, he mumbles out that the dude is the infamous Shoulder Blade Crusher. Kicking out bald idiot to the floor though, Flashy barges through the door. Peeking his head straight back out, he tells the other boys to chill here for a second. The matter that he needs to discuss is confidential. Now in the room and sipping on his tea while ruminating, Flashy Flash tells Saitama he should become his pupil. During the time they spent together underground, his physical abilities impressed him. However, he knows Dude requires teaching to develop his full potential. Opening a secret hatch Dude installed, Genos refuses for his master. Plus, if it's a matter about the so-called god, then he states it's not a secret to him. Having sat next to his master now, Flashy asks them to help find Manako, as apparently she's extremely important. Saitama questions what had happened to her if they found her. Is he going to torture her for more info? To which he explains that it completely depends on the monster. He needs a clue to that god, the same one Blast is fighting. It's just a hunch that he has, but he suspects he is close to discovering the secret of God. A secret so big, it shakes the ground beneath their feet. Standing up, he tells his friend Caped Baldy to come with him. Watching him then leave the apartment, Saitama follows before closing the door on his mentally insane ass. Immediately tearing it back open, Flashy insists he stop falling around, but Bro explains he can't stand people who use his hero name. Kicking the damn door off its hinges this time, Flashy Flash towers over the boys and demands Saitama fight him instead. Then he shall learn how inferior he truly is. From here, the blonde ninja Guna leads Saitama to a training room, proposing a fight with a condition that, should he win, he must become his disciple. He also sees this as an opportunity to gauge Saitama's potential. Flash informs Saitama that if he manages to land even a single hit on him, he wins. In response, Saitama states that if he wins, Flash must leave his ass alone, to which he agrees. The instant Flash declares the start of the fight, Saitama closes the distance between them, getting uncannily close and almost catching his ass. Immediately dodging out of the way though, Flash can't believe how close that was. The dude's face is just so unremarkable that he forgot his skill. he can't even get the drop on him with his flashy flash. Along with that, and according to rumours, he was also the person who defeated Garou. Getting ready to go all out against him, Flashy launches himself at our caped Baldy using his dragon thrust kick to land a hefty double-footed kick. Saitama retaliates with a punch, but Flash manages to avoid it by using his whirling slide to swerve himself out of the way. Not letting up, the S-Class proceeds to unleash a series of ninjutsu techniques. He begins with Falling Moon Palm, hitting Saitama with both open palms, then distracts him with his cape using Misty Mantle, before launching Falling Leaves Barrage, delivering a barrage of open hand slaps that obscure Saitama's vision. Flash continues his relentless attack with a Wind Blade kick from above, followed by a barrage of punches using Blue Storm Fist. Finally employing his flowing Shadow Kick to enhance his maneuverability, Flash activates his absolute technique, Flash Fist. Boosting it at Saitama with Flash Fist, he aims to blow his freaking head off. However, just before his punch makes contact, Saitama retaliates with a punch of his own that flashes past Flash's from below, leaving the S-Class hero stunned and paralysed as death bears down on him. Bringing his fist to a mere halt centimeters from his dome, a vicious torrent of air rushes over Saitama and blows Flashy Flash back. Rolling into the room while apologizing for interrupting the training sesh, Genos lets them know he just got a monster warning. Over with Flashy Flash and breaking down in the corner of the room, he sweats like a pedo in a police station. He can't physically believe he didn't have time to deploy his hidden technique. Sprinting off together now though, Flash copes hard and claims that since Saitama didn't land a blow on him, they'll resume this fight later on. The three heroes then headed to E-City, where some of the monsters had started to cause havoc. These monsters were a group of humans who monsterized over time due to being excessively bullied on X. Combined, they are a disaster level demon and go by the fighting name of Internet Surfers. A few A and B class heroes had already reached the location to fight the monsters, however, they were instantly defeated. Turning around to find a man dressed in black, the Internet Surfers all start yapping. Smiling mischievously, the man tells them to go nuts, he isn't here for them and is only waiting for a certain hero. The Internet Surfer, wearing a flannel-like shirt, looks over his shoulder to then see 3 more people approaching and assumes that's who the dude was waiting for. Dropping his hood down to reveal that it was indeed Speedo Sound Sonic lying in wait, dude can't believe they actually came. You see, he was only ever here to start with in the hope that the battle would bring some heroes over. Immediately spotting the exact person he was after, Sonic's sight fixes on Saitama. While he was obviously happy to see Saitama, he was understandably confused to learn that he was with his fellow Ninja Village ninja, Flashy Flash. Saitama hilariously tells him that it's also something he'd like to know too, obviously still confused as to why Flashy Flash is following him around at this point. Flashy Flash demands that Sonic muzzle himself and not pry any further, since it doesn't concern him. Just then though, Hellfire Flame and Gale Wind arrive, offering Sonic another chance in teaming up with them if he helps them with Flashy's execution. Taking a quick moment to recall who these absolute nobodies are, Sonic starts raging the hell out, remembering how the supposed monster cell they gave him absolutely violated his rear end. Explaining that it was a fresh cell to him, the two fodder ninja claim they've trained harder since their first defeat against Flashy, and it won't turn out like back then. Galewind reminds them both that Sonic and Flashy Flash were the worst ninjas in the Ninja Village while growing up, and vows to make them recall the time when they were miserable, failed students. Falling into a daze, Flashy Flash is suddenly reminded of the time he and Sonic skipped training to sneak around the restricted area in the Ninja Village, getting caught in the process. Being dragged away, he caught a glimpse of a black cube encased in a glass safe. Coming back to reality, Flashy admits he completely forgot about the Ninja Village, which is utterly wild. How did dude completely blank out his entire childhood? It's either got to be like a next level Gabimaru type of hell that he went through, or the eldest ninja, father ninja we could say, did some midnight creeping. Either way, and bringing everything full circle though, the Internet Surfers suddenly attacked, sick of the pathetic drongos yapping at their feet. I can't lie, this is like absolutely wild from Genos, but before the Internet Surfers even know what hits them, Genos obliterates the duo, sending their limbs all over the place. Simultaneous to this, Flashy rockets in, smashing both Galewind and Hellfire Flame off balance. With them unable to defend, he hits the ninja with the exact same attack he landed during the Monster Association arc. Instead of the two falling down defeated though, they manage to get off a substitution jutsu, allowing them to quickly escape. When it comes to Big Baldy, well, Sonic tried attacking him during this, little fight here, but Saitama off-screened his ass, sending him deep into the depths of the earth. Also, just remember this part here. Anyways, and walking over to Saitama now, Flashy Flash asks if here's some sort of connection to Sonic, since he was the one targeted here and not him, letting him know that this is the 3rd or 4th time now. Genos corrects Saitama that today's the 6th. However, from the depths of the earth, Sonic can only weep, knowing this was his 14th defeat to Saitama. After everything calmed down, Saitama ended up agreeing to help search for Manako. However, he wanted to do it his way. Additionally, he conveyed that he wasn't interested in becoming anyone's master, disciple, or rival. Hearing this, Genos, Flashy Flash, and Speed all come to an immediate conclusion that Saitama lacks confidence, therefore they start to reassure him. Obviously, this just sends Saitama even closer to his inevitable Kurmicide. Not exactly sure how much time passes between then and, now in the story, but almost immediately after getting in touch with King and bringing him up to date on what is happening, they're able to locate Manako, since King had already spotted the monster while looking for a dojo, which I absolutely love that part of the story. King's battle of wits against Atomic is just fantastic. I don't know how one continues to make these stupid battles where King forces his opponent to do something bizarre still an absolutely great read. Now back at Saitama's apartment, Flash can't believe he found her so quickly. After casually breaking the 4th wall, Saitama gets things back on track by asking Manako for an explanation on God. Quickly though, it becomes evident that Manako has no idea about, well, really anything. Thus, and joining forces once more, the goated trio decide to track down Sitch in hopes of getting in contact with Blast. The reason for this is, like Flashy says, it's not exactly easy to communicate with someone who hops dimensions, and Sitch has a communication line with him. Hopping out of the elevator and walking down the very first corridor they get to, they hilariously find Blast just chilling there. While Flash is obviously surprised by Blast's sudden appearance, he immediately questions him about God. Getting right in behind an already rapidly moving Flashy, Blast expresses that he was literally headed here to give a status report on that exact thing. Glad that this worked out pretty well, he demands the #1 hero hand over all of the info he has. Remarking how hasty Flash is, Blast can see he lacks composure and guesses it's because he has realised the connection between the Ninja Village and God. He was planning to warn Flash either way, so he's glad he came here. It's just that the previous leader of the Ninja Village has been revived, and he should probably be careful. Elsewhere in the world, we find Sonic recovering after surviving yet another beating from Saitama. Knowing that people are hiding in the shadows around him, he asks for them to come out. Pulling up, Galewind and Hellfire Flame once again show themselves, declaring their intention to now take down Sonic. Just then though, the two Muppets are randomly struck by multiple attacks. Dropping in, several other ninjas emerge and state that Wind and Flame were only supposed to surveil Sonic and Flash. All 19 members of the group then enter the room and introduce themselves as the Heavenly Ninja Party, or the Teninto. The group is composed of only ninja that have surpassed the rank of the highest ninja, Jonin, into the realm of Heavenly Ninja, Tenin. Violent Force, taking the lead for this group, explains the situation to Sonic. Ever since the village was destroyed, they changed their ways and started preparing for the return of That Man. That Man was the founder of the Ninja Village and the most powerful ninja in history. 15 years ago though, he sadly lost consciousness and had been comatose inside a recovery capsule ever since. With That Man as their leader, the Teninto are aiming to assassinate their greatest sworn enemy, Flashy Flash. From there, and in a similar manner to Goldie Roger, they will execute Blast through a public broadcast to the masses. Then they will be able to rule the world with the iron fist of ninjutsu laying out anyone who opposes them. Pinned down like a couple of prison inmates now, Gale and Fire believe their plan will never work since Flashy Flash was faster than they could ever imagine. Stepping past and just ignoring them, this bozo, Destruction Devastation, knows that Sonic gets along with a traitor and must know a weakness or two about him. Tomorrow night, he claims, Sonic will call Flash out to this exact location. They tell him not to worry, he won't be going at it alone, as they will be lying here in wait too. Along with them, That Man will also be joining them. Moments later, they all vanish, leaving Sonic alone in his base. Over at the Hero Association headquarters, Flash explained what he remembered about That Man. He had seen him sleeping in a recovery capsule in the deepest part of the village. He barely looked human, and on top of that, a cube sat next to him enshrined in a glass case. While Flash had somehow forgotten about his entire freaking past at the Ninja Village, he now suspects it all connects directly to God. Taking a guess, Flash theorized that the Ninja Village's purpose was to create pawns for God. Blast confirms this. While training assassins, they were also screening candidates suitable to become God's pawns. He isn't sure how Flash managed to avoid all of this here, but just thinking about what would have happened if Flash was controlled gives Blast chills. That man has gathered the top-ranking ninjas from the village and formed a secret organization called the Teninto. It's likely that the group will reach out to him in due time, but Blast asks just one thing from him. He needs him to stay away from that man. It's not that he doesn't believe in Flash's strength, more he wants to settle things with him personally. Fine with this either way, Flash elaborates on how he only came here to confirm who was manipulating the village to start with. He only wants to make peace with his past, but now that the village has fallen, he isn't interested in what happens next. Confused over the dude's indifference towards the situation, Blast wonders if refusing to cooperate is a remaining effect from the old village's policies. Only just realizing now that both Sonic and Flash had come from the exact same ninja village, Saitama believes this is why the things the two do are on a similar level. Feeling utterly violated with being compared to irrelevant fodder, Flash asks if he's blind. Was he even watching his battle against Garou? Sending him crashing back down to reality though, Saitama reminded him that he and Sonic had been in a very similar situation. The only difference was that Sonic ended up sinking further into the earth. While Flash felt insulted with this, he thought back to what had actually happened. Sonic had been humiliatingly defeated by Saitama, while he had been luckily defeated by Platinum Sperm. However, Platinum Sperm was defeated by Garou, who Saitama defeated himself. Having realized that Saitama could be right in his analogy, Flash proceeds to explain his relationship with Sonic in terms of ability. The Ninja Village, deep in the forest, was a production site for assassins that gathered orphans under the age of 17. Flash was sadly sold to the Ninja Village by his parents when he was only 5 years old. Since then, he was rigorously trained to be an assassin every day. The scars from his failed escape attempts still remain etched into his skin. A single day in the Ninja Village was 72 hours long, of which only 6 were for sleeping. The food had no flavour, and all information from the outside world was blocked off. The young ninja trainees weren't allowed to display any emotions. In fact, the ones with dead feelings were considered top performers. As for their training, they were separated into different squads based on their skill level. The ones with lower scores were subjected to even harsher training programs. They pushed them to their limits without breaking them due to just how valuable ninja were in the village. Wanting to become strong though, Flash got into the habit of acting like a failure so that he could undergo the harshest training regimens. Hence how he was probably not manipulated by God, because God assumed him weak at this point. On one such day though, a young Speed approached him, eager to offer him some tips with blades. That was the first time Flash ever spoke to Sonic, who, even though was in the similar failure category, was considered a rebel. Since the both of them were of similar physiques though, they became sparring partners to practice advanced techniques. Along with that, he was the only one Flash could talk to, something that helped him with recovering the emotions that got destroyed during his early training. It was something he was truly grateful for. As a member of the failing class, they were given all sorts of tasks. In the forest inhabited by modified savage beasts, they were ordered to erase their presence and survive for 720 hours, which is actually insane, almost comparable to my CSGO hours. Instead though, the two ninjas worked together and killed all of the beasts on the first day in the forest, following which they spent the rest of their time studying. During this time, Sonic shared his goal with Flash. Being born in the association, Sonic had a dream for the future, to climb to the highest rank and take over the village. Love that little MLK reference right there. But anyways, with that, he would tear down the organization and raise orphans like them in a much freer and more open environment. While assassination techniques were only useful for killing people, Sonic believed that the true value was in the power to live life as one may please to. With that, he asked Flash to join him in achieving this goal of his. After several years had passed though and Flashy Flash turned 16, his abilities had long since been acknowledged since he was ranked number 1 in the village. On the day of graduation and before the ceremony could take place, he killed everyone in the village, including instructors, staff, and every single member of his graduation class. Unfortunately, Sonic was sick on the day and missed out on witnessing Flash at his finest. Sometime later, Flashy Flash learned about the rumoured Hero Association and began using his power for professional work, not obviously assassinations. Not too long after that, Flash saw a poster that had listed Sonic as a wanted criminal. While he knew Sonic initially had good intentions in life, Flash assumed that the sudden exposure to the outside world turned him evil. Flipping back to the current day, inside of Saitama's apartment now, everyone sits in silence after Flash finishes his story. Leaning in through his secret escape hatch, Genos only has one question. If Flash wanted to remove the evil at its roots, why did he let Sonic escape the Ninja Village? Turns out, he didn't actually plan to let him live. He wanted to poison him with a meal of tasteless stew. While it was easy for him to mix the poison in with the tasteless stew, Sonic had been subject to the harshest environments until his graduation. Hence, he had developed enough resistance to the poison and survived. Not exactly dumb though, Blast quickly realised that Flash only ever poisoned Sonic to keep him away from the massacre he was about to commit. Speaking of stew as well, Saitama gets the sudden urge for a meal and notes how he has some broccoli and carrots left in the fridge. Getting the squad back on track though, Flash informs Saitama that he was a higher level than Sonic in the village. Standing up, he then asked Blast to give his regards to that man, whoever he was while he was human, before making his exit. Only just meeting Blast for the first time himself, Genos uses this opportunity to tell the #1 hero that if he has any problems, he should consult with Saitama Sensei in the future. Meanwhile, a Hero Association staff member manages to catch Flashy Flash in the corridor and handed him an express delivery letter. Also having left Saitama's apartment, Sitch was uncertain if it made sense to tell Flashy Flash about God. He thinks it would have made more sense to tell Flash that that man was manipulated by God and his actions were not his doing. Telling him that would have been a way better way to protect that man from Flash's intentions to get revenge against him, especially if he were to turn back into a human. While Blast also shared Sitch's feelings, he believed Empty Void would have scolded him for being naive. Similar to Flash, Void also grew up in an organization like the Ninja Village where, after graduation, the students killed each other in a struggle for power and control. It was a fate Ninja were notorious for. Sitch believed that Empty Void was still amazing, having assisted Blast in his operation against God in the past. Hence, with him finally revealing himself, they needed to take this opportunity to free him from God's hands. Bringing a document out of one of his portals, Blast shows Sitch an abandoned building that looks pretty damn identical to Sonic's hideout, and confirms that that man, obviously Empty Void, will show up there. Back over with Saitama, Genos questions where he could possibly be headed, and he admits he's going to Sonic's hideout. He's got something in mind. In the past, the ninja had challenged him to a fight several times through mail, hence how he knows his hideout's location. With the Heavenly Ninja Party bound to show up at the hideout, Saitama planned on beating up the ninjas and Sonic. He assumes if he did this, then Sonic would finally stop bothering him. But as he walks off on his journey, guesses that maybe Sonic just doesn't want to be alone. Elsewhere, and deep in the forest, Flashy met with Speed at the location mentioned in the challenge letter. Flash, curious over what this could all be about, asks his old friend. Slowly drawing his blade, Sonic explained that he had completely forgotten about Flash until he saw him yesterday, though it reminded him that they never settled their differences. Taking a defensive stance, Sonic proudly claims that things are much different now than in the past. Flash, overly confident in himself, states he wanted to clarify the difference in status between them as well, and he doesn't mind having a small battle, but is he really sure? Does Sonic want to waste the life he almost lost way back in his childhood? Kicking things right off, Sonic uses serious side hops to develop enough speed to create 10 after images. Instantly following, he launches his ultimate technique, 10 Shadows Burial on Flashy Flash. In an image of superior agility, Flashy Flash managed to dodge all of these slashes and parried the follow-up attack with his katana. Whipping his own leg forward, Flashy Flash connects with Speed, sending him shooting off into the trees. Using the momentum though from this blow, Speedo Sound Sonic swings from a tree branch and darts right back into the action. Pulling out a few shuriken from his satchel, Sonic tosses a bunch of his exploding devices in Flash's direction. However, the ninja easily dodges them. Launching himself up at Sonic, both of the ninjas clash in the air, forcing their blades to bind. Ducking out of the duel though, Sonic slashes at Flashy multiple times, pushing him further and further back with each slash. Connecting swords one more time, the duo darts back before once again charging at each other, and this time activating their technique, Windblade Kick. Faking his boy out, Speed uses his 2 Shadow Burial technique to evade Flashy Flash's kick. Then closing the gap, Sonic rains hell down and pounds the life out of his former bestie with a heavy Sonic Fist barrage. In a display of pure dominance though, Flashy Flash was able to counter this technique, blocking each slash before it was able to land. Darting away from the attack to form a little bit of distance, he tells Sonic that he has some nice moves, however, he picked the wrong opponent today. Watching the S-Class ninja then take a stance of his own, Sonic thinks he still hasn't even been able to show him his own secret technique. Fractions of a second later though, Flashy Flash's foot rips through the afternoon air, causing it to physically light up as he pushes it past the speed of light. Connecting with the body of Sonic, Flash lands flash kick after flash kick on his fellow ninja, ultimately sending him shooting back into the depths of the forest, defeated. Or so he thinks. Surprised, Flashy says he really didn't think Speed was strong enough to force him to use his ultimate technique. Out of nowhere though, multiple weapons come crashing down on Flash, forcing him to dodge out of the way. Landing back in a tree, he observes that the Teninto have shown up for some random reason. Standing around together, all of the ninja discuss if Sonic betrayed them. This was neither the time nor place they agreed on for where he'd lure the hero to. Nevertheless, Sonic wasn't completely useless to them, as thanks to him, they were able to witness Flashy Flash's ninjutsu. With that, the Teninto announce that it's time to begin Flashy Flash's execution. Cutting them off though, Sonic, who had quickly recovered, boosts back into the fray, knocking a few members down in the process. Seeing this, the other members all scream out asking if he's really gone to the other side completely. In response, Sonic revealed that he was planning on dealing with Flashy Flash himself. However, they just had to go and intervene right as their fight was about to finish. Sternly, he tells all of the other members to stay back. This is a fight between him and Flash. Standing there surprised himself, since Bro was able to defend against his flashy kicks, the hero tells him he exceeded all expectations and believes Sonic could have landed a counterattack on him if he was serious from the start. Sonic, who's obviously slightly offended by that, believes that he could have easily defeated Flashy Flash if their fight had never been interrupted. Watching the boys just casually talking and noticing that they're just being ignored now, the Teninto ask if Sonic lost his mind and wants to be added to their execution list. With their powers as Elite Ninja and the sheer numbers, they're certain they can easily take down both Sonic and Flash. In response, Flash jumps over to Sonic's side and the two ninja decide to team up first in order to silence the Teninto. Elsewhere in town, Saitama walks around a desolate area, curious as to why Sonic would live in such a lonely place. Back to the fight though, a member of the Teninto rushes over and grabs Hellfire Flame and Gale Wind. Throwing their asses into battle first, he hopes they'll serve as a distraction for the initial attack. Instead of killing the boys though, Flashy Flash easily captures both of them. A few of the ninjas then try to land an attack, but since their earlier distraction had already been dealt with, our boys also dispose of them. Landing right behind Flash and looking back at Hellfire and Gale Wind, Sonic questions why he didn't just kill them. While defending another attack, the S-Class revealed that the two ninja were previously monsters who have turned back into humans, so the Hero Association could use them as research material to reverse monsterification in the future. Diving in and using his own shattering fist, this irrelevant ass ninja shatters Flash's katana. Unconcerned though, Flash just tosses it aside and goes to strike back with his own hand. Flashing right past his ass though, Speed stepped forward to fight the Teninto solo. Activating serious sidesteps, Speed manages to create a tremendous amount of clones that stun all around. Flashy can't even physically believe what he's seen and guesses that Speed must have made more than 20 or 30 clones. Unfortunately, Brawny Muscle sees right through this attack and easily connects a backhand with Sonic's dome, sending him shooting off. Turns out the only reason Bro even did this Saitama-like technique is because he believed he could blow at least some of the Teninto away using the Sonic Boom. In reality, he was only able to get past them with a series of sideways hops. Flash pulls up beside him only to remind his boy that side hop technique isn't great against multiple opponents. Tossing Flash a katana and demanding some freaking gratitude, Sonic explains how he'd only used sideways hops to get close and steal an extra katana. Right after, the Heavenly Ninja Party attacked again, while stating that Sonic and Flash will never understand their true plan and will die without knowing what freedom is really like. Not really concerned with what these irrelevant ninjas are up to, Flash believed the ideology they had was that of a loser who failed to find a place for himself in the real world. Saying these exact words though causes Flash to remember what Sonic had told him in the past, and how he thought the true value in life was to have the power to live life as you please. Getting the dip on Sonic, two Teninto members manage to smash him back, however he uses the gained momentum from it to boost back even faster off a tree, head kicking the same spear wielding ninja in the process. He thinks that in comparison to getting punched by Flash, these guys' attacks are nothing and they have no effect on him. deflecting a multitude of slashes himself, Flash can tell he's even stronger than he was before. Yet he questions where that power to live life as he pleases was. He wonders how Sonic can be sure it's not just some sort of fantasy. After all, they lived in such a constricted environment for so long, to the point they couldn't really grasp what a true image of freedom is like. Just as both sides were then about to clash head on, Blast suddenly appeared between them, blocking their weapons from both ends. Immediately, he demands they stop, as in his eyes there is no need to shed any more blood pointlessly. The Tinento, confused over who this random man showing up in the middle of their showdown is, all in unison jump up and attempt to strike him down. Stopping them in an instant, Blast throws one single punch which he moves through portal after portal, connecting with the dome of each and every single Tinento member. Getting back to our ninjas, and kinda bums since they were the ones who wanted to take these ninja out, Flash and Sonic ask why Blast came here of all places. Looking over and pointing at Overgrown Rover, Blast reveals that the pup had led him here by handing him Sonic's invitation letter to Flash. Laying defeated on the floor, Violent Force warns Blast and others that their efforts will be for naught. Since Blast inflicted the wound on that man 15 years ago, he's undergone further physical enhancements and has now become the ultimate ninja, the ninja above all ninjas. Once a pinnacle of the assassination world, secretly ruling from the shadows, the lives he took numbered in the 6 figures. Even high-profile members known in history were taken out by his hand. Violent surmises that right now, he must be at Sonic's hideout, waiting for them to bring him the heroes' heads. Upon hearing this though, Blast decided to show the Heavenly Ninja Party, Speedo Sound Sonic and Flashy Flash something at Sonic's hideout and teleported them there. Already there and just chilling, the group finds Saitama casually seated in front of a hole shaped like empty void. Blast doesn't blame them if they're impressed. In truth, he arrived at the scene a bit earlier, wanting to go to Sonic's hideout to fight his former partner. To his surprise as well, Saitama had already defeated him. Stepping in, Flashy Flash asks Saitama if he killed the ninja village leader, but our Baldy assumes he isn't dead. Elaborating more, he tells his boys that once he arrived at Sonic's place, Void suddenly came from inside, absolutely pause, and attacked him. So, well yeah, he punched him, sending him deep inside the ground with it. Having listened to this explanation, the Tinento all crack up and start laughing, unable to believe that they'd really fall for some made up crap like that. Finding his bald head irritating as well, the group charged towards Saitama, hoping to avenge Void. As expected though, Saitama dusted them all off in a matter of moments. Kinda crazy when you think about it how long this arc in general has gone on for, all of the redraws that, in the end, Saitama just off-screens the boss. Throughout this video, I've gone through and placed some panels that no longer technically exist canonically. It's almost like 10 chapters of stuff that's just been completely Thanos snapped from existence, so I do hope you enjoy seeing them just one last time. It is sad to see some of the stuff that we did lose, but it is what it is at the end of the day, and I can't argue with the actual author of the series, one. Anyways, considering how the Tinento also jumped him just like Empty Void, Saitama asks Flashy for confirmation that they were ninjas as well. Dude's on a freaking journey to take out all of the ninjas he can find. Rolling in concerned though, Speedo Sound Sonic asks why the hell they're even here to start with. Listening to Saitama yap for a moment, Sonic rages out that that answer had nothing to do with why he was at his hideout to start with. In response, Saitama starts slapping him around while reminding him that the ninja had sent him countless invitation letters for a duel. Putting that aside for the moment, Saitama looks up to notice a tear in the sky slowly start to form. Blast, realizing that this is not exactly a great time, watches as 2 monolithic-sized monsters begin emerging from the gateway. A few of the recovered ninja scream out in shock, while our bald goat can't believe that the creatures are even bigger than the dog from underground. Upon seeing the monsters target Saitama and the others though, Overgrown freaking Rover, or should I say Undergrown freaking Rover, jumps in, shooting a plasma beam at the exact same time that the dual-headed monster shoots its own. Clashing in the sky over the city, the power beams explode, sending out a devastating blast that annihilates a massive section of the city. It's actually insane to see how strong Rover is, and he's only in his pup form right now as well. I wonder, if he got some sort of like Zenkai boost after his size initially got diminished, because he seems kind of comparable to beforehand, yet he's just miniature. I wonder if he's going to get bigger over time and then be an even bigger problem than he was in the first place, but I highly doubt it. He's just our pup now. Seeing that the monsters did indeed survive the attack though, Blast, having used his ability to protect everyone, describes the monsters as divine beasts. These divine beasts, Byakko and Genbu, both have a rating of dragon or higher and are pretty much God's pets. Launching himself into the air above everyone with Rover in his arms, Saitama readies up a punch while screaming out at the beasts to not bark at his pet. Sensing something down below though, Blast looks over to see a massive plume of smoke billow out of the hole Empty Void had been punched into before. The same smoke as when Garrow broke free of his monsterization. Watching his old friend then pounce out of the crater, Blast readies himself to attack simultaneously. Fractions of a second later, Void uses his Dimension Slash to absolutely violate the Divine Beast. Instantly following up, Blast uses his Giga Gravity Blow to push the beast towards the crack that had formed in the sky. Just as it seemed like the two beasts were entirely out of the crack, Blast uses his dimensional powers to shut off the tear, closing them off from Earth. Right after, Empty Void then crashes back down to the ground below with his blades at the ready. Moments later though, his monsterization cracked and broke away, revealing his human face underneath and symbolizing that he was no longer under God's control. Blast, absolutely stoked to see his boy again, screams out his name. His followers though, the Heavenly Ninja Party, all jump back in horror as they see their master's real face for the first time. Amidst this, Saitama had also landed on the ground with Overgrown Rover, and seeing what had happened, he thought it was probably appropriate to leave the Divine Beast to the people who were already handling them. Additionally, he asked Overgrown Rover to stop barking at other pets. Watching even more of his friend's shell break away, Blast runs over while asking if he's really him. Replying that it is, Dude lets him know it's as if the haze over his brain is just cleared. Just then though, Speedo Sonic launches in and attempts to slice Void in two. Easily blocking the initial attack, Void is then dual assaulted as both Flashy Flash and Sonic attack the former village leader. Darting in front of his boy, Blast interrupts the duel by grabbing the ninja's blades and telling them to stop. He understands that Void put them through literal hell, but it was only ever because he was being controlled by God. Turns out though that Sonic doesn't really care about that and was only testing if he was even skilled enough to order them around in the first place. To Sonic, he seemed like the type of ninja to get stirred up over a single punch by Saitama. Leaning in, Empty Void tells Blast it's fine, he still has his memory from the time under God's control. It felt as if he was having his flaws amplified. He didn't trust Blast and acted so recklessly that he fell right into God's trap. Void then switches his focus back to his group of misfit ninjas. While he believed the larger group had inherited his style of looking down on his comrades, the same didn't seem to be the case for Sonic and Flash. Obviously, the boys kinda went through it and Flash is goated, made sure his boy wasn't there on the execution day. Having overheard Void, Sonic and Flash think the remark is an insult and start arguing with each other. In the meantime though, Empty Void turns back in preparation to return to the front lines against God. Once he does that, he promises to the rest of the Tenito that he would make it up to them. The ninjas refute it though, claiming that they didn't do this for validation, but because they were only trying to fulfill their duty and live lives as shinobi. Speaking up himself, Sonic just tells the Tenito that if they want to live life as they please, they need strength. Right now, they're just not strong enough, to which Saitama steps in saying maybe they should try strength training. While the suggestion was obviously peculiar, no one questioned Saitama after seeing how strong he was firsthand. Not that they really even saw it though, Dude completely off-screened the boss. While this was going on, Blast, deep in thought, remembers the two incidents when a person broke free of God's control. No matter how much he tried to suppress Void, he couldn't take God's power out of him. With that, Blast questions just what Saitama's fists are. Which is quite a curious question, you know, like what kind of power does Saitama actually have? The ability to suppress God is a pretty insane power. When it comes to the Tenito, instead of waiting around for like their master to get back obviously, they decide to start searching for some of those mysterious cubes. But that isn't all, they also want a fresh start for the group. For this, the group starts brainstorming and eventually comes up with a proposal. Approaching Saitama, the group all drop to their knees as they ask him to become their leader. Somewhat jaded over it though, Saitama denied the request, however, the crew still continued to harass him. Over with the other ninjas, Flash tells Sonic that he had poisoned him on their graduation day. Surprisingly, Sonic didn't really care for it and instead stated he would be training Flash again from zero. Which is kind of crack up to think that Sonic thinks he's stronger than Flash, he thinks he's stronger than pretty much, you know, the majority of people on the entire planet. Also, approaching El Baldi, Blast asks for his help in the final battle against God. Before Saitama could give the S-Class hero an answer though, Blast uses powers to teleport away to the dimension between space-time with Empty Void. The moment they reached the location, they were left shocked to see the corpse of the divine beast Kirin. Unable to fathom who possibly did this, Void questions his boy, but Blast says it's obvious, knowing Saitama had most likely done it. Love to know what you all think about these off-screen one-punches from Saitama. You know, it has happened in the past before, but I do kind of like it when we get to see them from him, like, as they happen. Also, just gonna goon out for a moment over some history here. These divine beasts, Byakko, Genbu, and Kirin, are a part of what I'm suspecting to be the 4 symbols or gods from Chinese mythology. Jujutsu Kaisen also used them with Ino and his Auspicious Beasts technique, which in itself is just another name for the Guardians. Instead of just the 4 beasts though, I'm guessing there will be multiple more in the future, both correlating with Japanese and Chinese mythology. The 4 gods are Seiryu, Suzaku, Byakko, and Genbu, 2 of which we obviously just saw in the last chapter. Whereas the 4 spirits, the others I expect to be coming, you know, over the next arc, are Kirin, Phoenix, Spirit Tortoise, and Oryu. Obviously we just saw Kirin, so there's probably only 3 of them left and 2 more of the other beasts. Something else that also kind of relates to Saitama is how in ancient China, yellow is the color of the emperor, or that of nobility. Saitama was also the one who defeated the yellow dragon, Kirin, which is, you know, obviously another name for it. He wears a big yellow suit himself, and it's said in Chinese culture that when a Kirin appears, a king who practices good politics is born. Not sure on the validity of the statement itself, so feel free to correct me as I might have got like the translation wrong, but I like the idea behind how it's a subtle hint to Saitama being the king or god of this universe maybe. Not too sure on the politics part, but I'm sure we could see Detective Saitama in the future. Either way, and a few days later, we find the Tanito, Speedo Sound Sonic, Flashy Flash, and even Big Genis, all pestering the hell out of a stressed Saitama. At this rate, dude's probably gonna grow his hair freaking back. Hey, maybe he does actually get good at politics in the end. Dude has like 15 groups trying to wrangle him now to, you know, be a part of their group, or train him, or be their disciple, or have a battle with him. Anyways, if you did enjoy the video, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new around here with the bell notifications on, as it really helps in pushing my content to a bunch of new amazing people. But for now, it's been your professional degenerate Diavolo, and I'll see you all in a bit. Bye.